Welcome to your Gemini 2026 horoscope. So, this is ideal if you have Gemini rising in your birth chart or you happen to be a Gemini. 2026 is going to be an electric year for you. Reason being is the planet Uranus is going to settle into your sign from April 26, and it's going to be there through until the early years of the next decade. So Uranus is electric. It's exciting. It's very much about exploring new territory. So when it comes into your first house, this is about you exploring all of the possibilities of what it means to be you. Uranus flies the flag of authenticity, liberation, freedom, of doing things differently. Everything that you've been taught and told thus far in life goes out the window as you start to explore for yourself what it truly means to be you. Uranus in Gemini is going to invite you to step upon the path, and that path is going to be the path less traveled. So it's going to invite you to go in a multitude of directions. And let's be honest, I'm one of these people too. Us Gemini risings tend to do that anyway. So there is going to be a little bit of a challenge in 2026 and beyond in the idea of while Uranus is liberating, it's exciting, it invites us to, variety is the spice of life, but then sometimes remembering that there are too many options, so many distractions, and also finding out which ones are going to be worth exploring and which ones are not. And that's part of the experimentation process when it comes to Uranus. We don't experiment once, we're going and everything works out well. We don't make just one change in our life and then, okay, this is it now. There's going to be a series of ongoing changes throughout the course of this journey for us all. So it will depend somewhat on the mechanics of your own birth chart and where planets are, what degrees they hold, because in 2026, Uranus just gets as far as 5 Gemini. So that is pretty early in the sign. It doesn't get too deep into Gemini this year. So for those who have planets or angles from 0 to 5 of Gemini, you will definitely feel this for the rest of the rest of the 25 degrees of the sign. It might be next year or in 5 years from now where these energies of Uranus really take a hold. That being said, though, because Uranus is one of our outer planets and they tend to be heavier, weightier because they move so slow, they take longer to move through the zodiac to pass over certain degrees in the sky. When the planet moves in, what we call ingress, so once it moves into Gemini in late April, you will feel that energy. Chances are you have already, because Uranus did visit Gemini for the first time. We got a little sneak peek of it, July to November of 2025. So this might have brought a period of maybe mental exploration, thinking a little bit further beyond the future, wondering about possibilities. What might life look like by the time we get to 2033? I know I've been thinking that. And even just thinking about exploring the possibilities of all of the directions that life can take us in. So, what's really interesting about the path of Uranus this year, even if you won't have one of those direct transits that I mentioned before, if you've got planets or points at 5 degrees, Uranus is still going to activate other features in the sky, which will form a ricochet across your birth chart. So these personal changes of maybe trying things different, experimenting, exploring what life looks like for you, trying on new things, literally or proverbially speaking. These changes that are happening at the personal level will ricochet through other areas of life because of the way that outer planets are connecting with each other this year. So, friendships will be a part of that. As you change, naturally, the company you keep will most likely change as well. Your worldview will change as you change. So, maybe your desire to travel, to study, to learn, to delve into spirituality, religion, astrology, whatever the case may be, as you start to reveal what's authentic within you, you will start to look at life, at philosophy, at education, study, travel, all the big picture perspectives of life quite differently. Now, chances are you'll feel these shifts strongly in July and November when Uranus works with these outer planets. So, much of these new sparks that Uranus is going to bring into the sign of Gemini will you'll get a chance to kind of light them up a little bit once Mars moves into Gemini from June 29 through to the 11th of August. So, of course, there will be a Mars Uranus conjunction that will kind of be like lighting a firecracker. So this will be your opportunity while Mars is in Gemini from the end of June to mid-August to maybe make some inroads on some of the changes that Uranus is instigating. It might be about setting fire to your life. And I don't necessarily mean that in a destructive way, although I'm sure there'll be some Gemini risings that might just like to burn their proverbial houses down and change everything. Sometimes an event may happen that's unexpected, shocking, sudden, that the ricochet of that is, yeah, everything will kind of burn down or change. It probably won't be your first rodeo in the sense of experiencing a Uranus transit at all, though this will be the first one in the first house. So this might be about the changes that you want to initiate, that you want to start. Obviously, there's changes that we welcome and that are fun, and then there's changes that not always quite so pleasant. Do expect, particularly when Mars adds fuel to Uranus's fire, June, July, and August, that this is going to be a really fast-paced period. So it might be worth your while to just make a little note in your calendar, diary, what have you, that this will be a period of time where you can get a lot of things done, but the burnout could also be an issue. Now, Mercury is your ruling planet if you have Gemini rising. And so this year, Mercury will retrograde through three different signs. It will retrograde in Pisces from February and March. So that's going to activate your 10th house, your professional life, and your overall life direction. So there'll be an opportunity to rethink some of that stuff. June, July, it'll be in Cancer. So that's your second house of money. So that's kind of self-explanatory, and we'll talk about that a little bit more moving forward. Then October, November is Scorpio, which is your sort of daily grind zone, hard work, servitude, and your sort of daily habits. So essentially, it's the water trines that are going to be active. So there's going to be a rethink around money, around work, hard work, toil and labor, and the professional life direction stuff. So Mercury retrogrades, usually it's just three times every year, occasionally four. So, and usually it will move through a singular element. Sometimes there's overlap. So do think about you will get these three opportunities to rethink things of that are financial and work related, especially. So speaking of financial, you're still going to have the continuing influence of Jupiter in Cancer until June 30. So by that stage, you've had nearly 13 months of your proverbial ship coming in. So I hope that's been the case for you. So there will be, Jupiter is going to ask you to continue to invest in yourself. So this could be investing in learning about money, discovering more about money, investing, like spending money to make more money, believing that your skills, gifts, talents, what you have to offer the world are actually worthy of massive compensation. So embrace opportunities as Jupiter won't come back to the second house for you in Cancer for another 12 years. So do embrace those opportunities. And that might mean saying yes to having to spend some more money in some instances. So you might have to invest a little bit of money if you're self-employed in order to make the return on that. Maybe for you, it is extra hours at work, possibly taking a second job, maybe doing more to expand and grow your wealth. So do say yes to opportunities to grow. And it doesn't always have to be just about money. It's opportunities to grow your sense of belief, your self-worth, faith. The second house is how we attract and pull in sustenance. And Jupiter is about expanding that. And in Cancer, it's expanding it kind of from within. And so the second house for the first half of the year with Jupiter in Cancer might be about you developing faith in your own skills, your gifts, your talents, as I mentioned, but also just that innate sense of belief that the universe provides. Now, you'll also have one of those Mercury retrogrades. So it's really interesting because Mercury will come in June 1 and stay there till August 10. Now, there will be a retrograde phase with that, and that's from June 30 to the 24th of July. So Mercury comes in. So, this long period of time, 1st of June to August 10, is generally a time where there's going to be more focus on finances, keeping in mind that Mercury is your ruling planet. So a little bit of energy invested there. So review your money, think about money differently can happen when the retrograde happens. Because when Mercury starts the retrograde, it will conjoin Jupiter and then Jupiter leaves, not to come back for over a decade. So this retrograde is a really good opportunity. What did I learn? How did I manage my money? Could I make improvements? Did I make more money than I expected? Where did it go? Or did I make more money than I expected? And what shall I do with it? Do I invest it? Do I save it? Do I pay off debt? And of course, for some Gemini risings, you might realize, hey, I made some money, but I haven't got anything to show for it. And so that's where those lessons with Jupiter will come in, and you can reflect on how you've grown, whether it's literally in the bank balance or philosophically around sustenance and wealth. So, um, so yeah, the Mercury retrograde is going to be an invitation to reflect on everything that's happened to you financially from June of the previous year. So self-worth, abundance, being a money magnet, and all of that sort of stuff. So if your ship came in, great, do smart things with it. If it didn't quite come in or you didn't do smart things with it, then that's your opportunity to do some rethinking. So, the home environment for you, so your home, your living situation, your family dynamics will receive a new moon eclipse. Sorry, this one is a full moon. Sorry, it's a full moon eclipse on the 13th of March. This one is connected to the South Node. This is going to start to wind up an 18-month cycle for you that has changed your home environment. So, this full moon is going to shine light in your fourth house and on the south node, and it's going to prompt you to make some further changes to bring about the ideal living situation that you want. There may be a purification process that takes place. Maybe you move, maybe you buy and sell, maybe you just need a good declutter of your living space. Family dramas may come up, especially if they're from the past. The South Node can often symbolize that. And a full moon can spotlight emotions and those types of dynamics. So that happens on the 13th of March. So basically, the month of March, 2 weeks either side of that eclipse date, is where you'll probably start to notice some shifts, some shakeups, some tension potentially, or the desire to cleanse, purify, and make your home life or your domestic dynamics with family uh, on better terms for you. Now, in terms of relationships, your relationship house is pretty quiet this year. You just have the regular transit of Mercury and the Sun between November 22 and December 26. So it's super quiet. You'll have a new moon December 9. So, if you're single and don't want to be, you might not like the sound of that, but trust me, all is not lost. One of your other relationship sectors is the fifth house. So, how we would sort of decipher those two astrologically, the fifth is a little bit more the dating, mating, relating type of vibe. The seventh house is the actual relationship. So you're going to have Venus, the planet of relationships, not your personal planet of relationships, but she does happen to be your personal planet of mating, dating, and relating. She's going to spend an extra long time in your fifth house and in that house of joy, of pleasure, of romance, of fun, of children, and just happiness. So she's going to spend extra long time in this area. So it's going to give you an extra long time to figure out what do you want out of relationships? What do you want out of happiness, out of joy, out of pleasure? And what do those topics actually look like for you? So she's going to be She's going to essentially invite you to test your boundaries, to explore your limits, and try new things. Because as she moves into Libra, she'll trine Uranus, she'll oppose Saturn and Neptune, and sorry, she will, yeah, oppose Saturn and Neptune, and she's going to trine Pluto. So she's kind of going to get pinged by big energies that are happening in 2026. So, this is going to invite you to step back and reassess things. And this is going to be particularly potent when she spends a little bit of her retrograde phase in your fifth, and then she'll be a little bit in your sixth in the sign of Scorpio. So, that's going to be from the 25th of October to the 13th of November. And then she will continue on until the 4th of December. Her retrograde period will help you figure out what do you really want in love, in romance, whether you're partnered, whether you're single. It's going to help you reevaluate what gives you pleasure. Do you enjoy doing what you always done, or do you want to try something different? And considering that Uranus is going to be in your sign for the most of the year, you're going to want to experiment. You are going to want to change. And so, for example, maybe you have certain habits or patterns that you do for entertainment or going out or having fun. And then you decide you want to do different things, or you want to reassess what possibilities are available for you. If you're dating someone, or, are we going to move on to something a little bit more serious, or are we just plodding along? That retrograde will kind of help you decide, is this someone that I want to maybe develop something more with, or is this someone that may not be a part of my future? So, when it comes to adventure, travel, discovery, these houses are the third and the ninth combined, and these are massive for you this year. So Jupiter will leave your second house June 30 and will move into Leo, your third house, and will be there for 1 year. And so the third house primarily is one of our learning houses, writing, learning. So think your books, your podcasts, your weekend workshops, your online webinars, seminars, and that's sort of the third house is a little bit personal developy type of thing. So when Jupiter moves in there, you're going to naturally want to expand that area of life, explore your curiosity. You might find over the course of the 12 months beginning at the end of June, you buy more books than you've bought in a really long time. So Jupiter is a planet of wisdom, of teaching and preaching. It holds that archetype of sagely wisdom. Now, these are the types of people you might draw into your sphere this year. You might want to learn from some sagely priest or rabbi. You might want to learn from some spiritual guru or master. Maybe you'll be that person that becomes that to other people. So your best opportunities may be closer to home, because the third house isn't so much about airports and passports. It's more about your local or your domestic area. So, you might travel interstate, you might travel across town. Not saying that international travel isn't a part of the picture. Hey, I want to go overseas in 2026. but there is a little bit more of an emphasis or a focus on the domestic scene. Now, Jupiter is the planet that holds dominion over relationships, one-on-one relationships, so partnership, marriage, and your professional life. And so, what you're learning, what you're discovering, what you explore in the third house may come from, uh, you might do a workshop that's professionally oriented. You might do a workshop and you meet someone special there, for example. So, keep in mind, I know I mentioned the seventh house of Sagittarius is really quiet for you this year. Doesn't mean that the ruler of that part of the sky isn't doing other things. So much of what you learn, you discover, you grow might have a professional or a partnership dynamic to it. Now, what also makes these areas of your chart really busy this year is eclipses. So the nodes will shift signs this year. They're going to move out of your fourth and 10th, and they're going to move into your third and ninth. That's going to start from the 27th of July, and that's going to be a cycle that will last 18 months. So you will get a cycle, like a foreshadowing cycle. So a new moon in Aquarius on February 17 is going to kickstart, it's going to renew, re-inspire your ninth house of travel, of meaning and purpose, of spirituality, religion, faith, esoteric topics, astrology. So that's going to be a really interesting period, that February timeframe. Remember, eclipses are really active. Obviously, the new moon and the full moon, the eclipse themselves happens at a particular time, but it's the energy that surrounds the eclipse. So you might find about 2 weeks on the other side of that date, there's a stirring or an opening or a churning in that part of the sky. So this might give you an inkling or a foreshadowing of future adventures that might manifest as the North Node starts to move through that space in the second half of the year. So you might experience in February some kind of breakthrough in travel. You may not have any plans to go anywhere, but February might be a month where, for example, someone says, "Hey, you want to go somewhere later this year?" And you're like, "Yes, I can do that." Your worldview may start shifting a little bit in February, and then that will connect a dot for you to explore more in the second half of the year. The inklings that come through in February will come into fuller view in the second half of the year and into 2027. As I've already mentioned, as we change as individuals, the company we keep has to. It usually is the way. And so you're going to have the cycle of Neptune in Aries will begin in January 2026 and it will stay there until 2039. So you're going to have a long sweeping changes in the area known as the 10th house, which is your friendships, your groups and communities, your associates, your friends, like your bosom buddies, and also just your general sense of luck and fortune. So, who and what you attract into your life is going to get Neptuned starting from what did I say? It's the 26th of January. So, this is going to be an inspiring time, but it will also be confusing. So, Neptune is going to speak to the idea of a soul yearning. So you might want to find your soul aligned tribe or people who you share similar spiritual, religious values with, communities of people that are kind of vibing on the same vibe as you do. So chances are that with Neptune, superficial connections won't cut it because Neptune yearns for a deeper connection. Neptune's often described as a planet where you want to merge with something. So you might want to merge into a group, a community, or a network of people that you feel kind of this pull towards, a draw, or something that has a calling, like, yeah, these are my people, this is my tribe, sort of thing. So you might be drawn to people who are a little mystical, a little magical, or have a spiritual or religious leaning to them. Those are the types that Neptune tend to pull in. You can also pull in flaky people as well. So wherever Neptune goes, there is this idea of be a little bit cautious. The energy on the 11th house for Gemini risings is Aries. So you can be fast to make friends, but fast to not be friends. It is that sort of get in quick type of energy. But you may not want to get in too quick where Neptune's concerned. Use a little discernment. And that's where Saturn can help in 2026. It will arrive on February 14, and on February 21, Saturn and Neptune will make a fusion or a conjunction together, setting up a whole new life chapter of what friendship, groups, communities, and networks online and in real life really look like for you. This could also have a connotation with the idea of audiences. So if the fifth house is your creative space, the 11th house is who's seeing your creations. Are you a musician? Go book some gigs. If you're doing something like me, I'm an astrologer and I put my work out there on the internet and other places. So you want to put your stuff out there, whatever it may be. So when Saturn comes there, there's going to be, I find Saturn is like a cosmic report card of your friendship groups, the company you keep, and generally speaking, who is in your life. Saturn is kind of the great, it's like a sifter, when you're baking, and it can help you differentiate the good stuff and the not so good stuff. And so when you can differentiate between the genuinely creative, mystical, spiritual types and just those kind of spiritual flakes who are making a quick buck or whatever, that's when you can differentiate between the two, that's when you can make better discernment. So, with Saturn in the mix, it's going to be a case of time will tell. Time will tell between who's going to cut the mustard and who is going to stay in your life long term. So, you might go through a process of pulling in a lot of new people, and they may seem like the hottest thing since sliced bread. And then you realize, maybe they're not quite all what I thought they were cut out to be. Your existing friendships may also go through a cycle of change and renewal because you are changing and the people that you spend time with will change as a result. So friendships might feel a little foggy and confusing, a little bit hard and heavy at times as well. But there is that the big question is you want to figure out who is really adding value to your life. Saturn is a planet of manifestation. Neptune can be a planet of wing on a prayer, a whole lot of promises and a whole lack of delivery. So you want to practice that discernment of who is quality, who is bringing quality energy into your life, but most importantly, who is fanning your flames. Because, hey, it is Aries that we're talking about here after all. So, what's really interesting for you this year as a Gemini rising is that it's not quite so much about the personal stuff, except for Uranus, but it's the big changes in your outer world will have a reflection on the inner world this year. So, it's a bit more of a broader picture for Gemini risings, which can be contradictory because Gemini risings, the energy of Gemini is a little bit more in the data, in the details. One of the challenges this year is go bigger, think bigger, but don't get so lost or distracted with all of the things. Try and stay on path, try and stay on purpose. But although this year might be a little bit about figuring out what that might look like. So if you're born from May 21 to 27, you're going to experience a Uranus conjunct the Sun transit. That is a once in a lifetime influence. And this is going to encourage you to really reveal who you are, like discover it and then reveal it. The discovering part is the probably the harder of the two. So it's going to be a year about experimenting, trying things on for size and seeing how they look. That's probably going to mean you're going to lack a whole lot of consistency. So do be aware of what you promise, because what you promise and what you deliver will probably be two different things. Life will be fast paced, a lot of variety, a lot of optionality, and just the real high buzz vibe. So that's kind of exciting. And you'll probably come out of 2026 a whole new person. If you're looking at birthdays between May 21 and June 5, Saturn will sextile the sun. So that's a bit of a phase of, having to kind of push yourself to have that discipline, to have that maturity, take the longer term approach. With so much energy buzzing around, so many, it's almost like, say, for example, if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm working, even though I don't have social media notifications on my phone, but imagine if I did, and there's like pinging and buzzing and all of the things, but I'm trying to work on a project I actually need to focus attention on. That's Saturn, and the other stuff is all the Uranus and Gemini. So there is going to be this dynamic here if your birthday falls between May 21 and June 5, where you need to establish the priority. And once that's established, everything else is just gravy, or everything else is just, second place kind of thing. So when you can embrace your priority and you know what's right for you, it's easier to sort of follow through and try and have a bit more of a decisive approach rather than jumping on every bandwagon or jumping on every exciting new shiny thing. Now, if your birthday falls between the 24th and the 27th of May, Pluto is going to trine the sun. So that's a potent and powerful influence where you'll get to, it's a shedding skin, it's an actualizing, it's a finding your true self by letting go of the old. So, the idea of, old ways of thinking can't open new doors. So, with Uranus in your first house, and if you happen to also be getting a sun trine from Pluto, it really is about that shedding all the layers, try new things, um, and know you can't be where you want to be if you stay in the same place. So open new windows, open new doors, and the idea of a ship is safe in the harbor, right? But that's not what ships are built for. So experiment, try new things, have fun. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that found helped you find your way a little bit through a very exciting and electric year. If you do want to explore these energies that pertain to your birth chart particularly, book a reading. I'm available for readings. You can book that in via my website. There's links in the description below. If you would like to tour the astrology in depth as it happens, my Golden Circle membership is the place to do that. You can join the community there, get videos every month of me taking you through the sky. We have live Q&A calls every new moon and a lot of other exciting things. If you would love to learn astrology with the eclipses moving through your houses of learning and discovery, I'm actually opening a new enrollment for beginners year one astrology December 10. And that's December 10 of 2025, in about a month's time from this video coming out. So it'd be wonderful to teach astrology to you if that's something you're wanting to explore and develop in 2026. So again, I hope you found this useful, informative, maybe slightly entertaining, and I look forward to seeing you next time, and have a great year.